Hi, welcome to another video from MFA. Today I'm going to talk about how to structure your finance and accounts organization. A finance and accounts organization is usually headed by a CFO. In our case, we often act as the CFO, and there is an entire team that carries on various functions within the group. To understand and implement a finance function and organization, one needs to first be clear on what the finance function is supposed to achieve. And this will vary quite a bit depending on the size and the stage of the company. For a really early stage startup, all that the function might be expected to do is to maintain the books and provide information on what's happening, what's the revenue, expense, etc. But for a Fortune 100 company, the finance and accounting function might oversee not only accounting, finance, banking relationship, investor relationship, but also risk functions, audit, and strategy even. So the capabilities of such a team is very different from that of an accounting and a finance organization in a startup. So let's start with a relatively smaller firm and what is the basic structure that one has to set up. But as I said, this is so different depending on the organization. So that's why at MFA, we create these bespoke organizations customized for you. However, to give a framework here in this video, I'm just going to talk about two structures. One is kind of a simple, relatively smaller organization, and one a complex organization that spans various geographies and various divisions. To begin with, let's see who the CFO reports to. The CFO often reports to the CEO, but they also have to report to the board of directors, at least on a dotted line basis, because to reduce the agency cost. What are agency costs? That is the cost that the management might not work in the best interest of the shareholders or the owners of the company. A CFO has to be unbiased and show the state of the company's performance, the financial strength, etc. to the board of directors and ultimately to the owners and promoters. So the CFO has a dotted line always to the board of directors, and the CFO should be able to talk to the board of directors directly at any point in time. Now, let's look at what are the key functions at a startup stage. The basic one is going to be managing the books. So you need an accounting manager, accounting team, which has a few functions, receivables that they have to collect, revenue, etc., entering the sales. So you have an accounts receivable team and an accounts payable where you have to pay the suppliers. Also, apart from the accounting, the treasury and the finance function is also critical. Relationship with the banks, managing cash flows, all of that comes under the treasury function. So these two functions are very critical and pretty basic and rudimentary for any finance organization. Then, to further expand on that, you might add someone to interact with the investors, particularly if you're a startup and you're raising money, connecting with various venture capitals, fintechs, probably also is important and key. So we would have a finance relationship manager whose goal might be to raise funds, etc. Now, this is a very basic structure, as I said, but you can add a few things that depending on your needs, right? So maybe one person for compliance, tax regulatory compliance could be there who reports into the CFO, and you can also probably think of a risk and control manager who will report into the CFO. So this should be enough for most of the startup and early stage companies. Now let's look at a rather complex organization. When it comes to a corporation that spans geographies and has various products and services, that is various verticals, then the finance and accounts organization becomes rather complex. A good rule of thumb is to have the total expenses of the finance and accounts organization to be under 2% of the revenue. So we need to figure out how do we structure that given those budget constraints. Now, One of the easiest way is to divide the organization on a vertical, that is a business unit basis, as well as a geography basis, and create those individual CFOs to handle those functions. So you will have a CFO for Asia, or you can also have a CFO for your products versus a CFO for your services. So various business units. So you will have those CFOs report into the group CFO. So that's the first thing. And each of these smaller divisional CFOs will have their own accounting team who does the stuff, etc. But there's also going to be a central finance and accounts team that consolidates all of that and who report directly to the corporate CFO. Right. Then one of the key developments as you go on from a smaller company to a rather large one is the increasing size of the FP&A team, the financial planning and analysis. So at the early stage, I didn't mention that this is required, but because this is something that the CFO themselves will provide, they will do that analysis component. But as the company becomes bigger, larger, having an FP&A team who will do the analysis, who will provide answers so that the decision making is quick, strategic decisions are made, is probably one of the key value adds of a finance function. Then second thing is the budgeting and planning work. Sometimes this falls under FP&A, but there could also be a central planning and strategy team that might do this thing. So this is also a key difference between a smaller organization and a larger one. Then comes the risk. So the risk team in a big corporation is pretty huge, and this is going to be looking at various types of risk, financial, interest rate, all of that, but also some kind of operational risk might be also layered into this role. A CFO's role also is very strategic, highly strategic, I would say. So the bigger the organization, the strategy team also becomes larger and is usually a part of CFO. If the CFO has prior experience with strategy, that is usually the best fit. Sometimes if it is not, the strategy team operates independently, but in a lot of situations, the CFO also doubles up as the chief strategic officer. So the strategy team looks at various factors. So they're going to be looking at the macro picture, the competition, pricing, and all of this makes sense to be within finance because all this data is going to be available with the finance team anyway. So this is a structure of a really complex finance organization that you will see here in the slides. And if you have any questions about how to structure your finance team, just give us a call or drop a comment below and we'll be happy to help you.